Welcome to the United States of death metal. Today what we're going to do on Vampire Choir is go through some states that I thought had the best kind of output based on quantity and quality. Stay tuned. All right, starting with California. Abeosis, Absence of Life. This one is excellent. It's on Dark Blasphemies Records. And it's a compilation, it's more recent, but it's highly recommended. Abeosis. Next up we have Spanish death metal Asesino, Cortes de Muerte. This is all in Spanish, and it's a bit of grindcore, and it's an excellent death metal album from California. Kind of a newer band, technical death metal, is Burning at the Stake. The album is called Nefarious Campaign. It's kind of new to me, and it's a good album. Classic California, Autopsy, Mental Funeral. This one's on Peaceful Records. Just an amazing album, murky as can be. My favorite is their debut album called Severed Survival. This is the edition that I have on Peaceful Records. Just absolute amazing California death metal. I like their compilation called Awakened by Gore because it's remastered, unlike the other comps. Awakened by Gore by Autopsy. Awesome Rarity is Charlie Christ. It's a bit thrashy actually. It's called Symphonies of Blasphemy. It's a very, very good album. Quite rare. I'm glad to own it. Coffin Texts, The Tomb of the Infinite Ritual is okay. I really like the earlier album called Gods of Creation, Death and Afterlife. It's one of my few digipacks. Crimson Relic was originally from Texas and they moved to California, and this is a death metal classic. Classic album right here from Crimson Relic. Classic band, Deeds of Flesh. In my collection I have their Reduced to Ashes album, and the ones that I really admire is Gradually Melted on Wild Wags Records. Check it out. Awesome album. And then their Trading Pieces, which is remastered, and the Trading Pieces original on Repulse Records. Another rarity called Deities, their Icon album. Quite the rare thing. Deprecated, Deriding His Creation is awesome, very fast, brutal death. One of my favorites from California is Disgorge, Consume the Forsaken. This thing's dark, fast, and heavy and brutal. I mean, just really a perfect album on Unique Leader Records. That's Disgorge. Their album is called Cognitive Lust of Mutilation. And this is kind of a recent reissue. Not sure what label's doing something like that, but it's one that I got very recently. The band Engrave. They've got 3 different versions of their album called The Rebirth. This one on World War III, I think, is the most recent. We've got an earlier edition that's got the Infernal Bleeding, which is just amazing songs. I mean, it's a great album in the first place, but the one that actually has the 3 bonus tracks, these tracks kill right here. And I think the first edition was on SOD Records, so I'm not sure if it came with a magazine. So Engrave from California, really, really nice. Another rarity is Enthraller, Slaves and Gods. This one was on my want list for years. It finally popped up and I nabbed it, and it's pretty good. Even more amazing, a rarity that just is incredible, is Enthroned, their Gothic Disturbance album. This is a self-release. I think it was on cassette tape as well. I got this in the mail and realized that it was autographed. Enthroned, Gothic Disturbance. Kind of a thrashier album called Epidemic, or Decameron. Brutal thrash is what this is. It's on Metal Blade Records. And then we have Exhumed, kind of a classic band. You know, I've checked out some of their material. I do have Anatomy is Destiny. It's kind of bouncy, sounds a bit Swedish. And another rarity called Fatal Liquidation, Surrender Your Soul. It's a 3 out of 5 sort of deal. California rarity. All right, more recent band from California is the band Gruesome. Their masterpiece, Twisted Prayers, I think is amazing. I do have their compilation called Fragments of the Psyche. It's got a couple edition bonus tracks on it. Their Dimensions of Horror album, I think is amazing. And probably my favorite from them still is Savage Land. Next up we've got the band Hex and their Morbid Reality album. Like this, it's on Century Media Records. Immortal Fate, this is a reissue called Beautiful Faceless Burial. So it's two different albums on one, and it sounds really cool. Infamy, The Blood Shall Flow. We've got two different editions of this one. First of all, Mercenary Music, looks like this one here. And the original edition that I have is Koblah Records, Blood Shall Flow. I think Infamy was a bit underrated. You know, great brutal death, you know, like Deeds of Flesh. Classic band Insanity, Visions of Apocalypse is more recent. And an amazing compilation from Insanity is called From the Grave. This one's highly recommended. Insanity From the Grave, it's a classic death metal band, one of the classics of the world, and the From the Grave compilation is awesome. I've got a rarity called Visions of the Apocalypse from them. It's a self-release. Not sure where I found that thing. And their old classic album on MBR Records is Death After Death. I'm proud to own this one here. Insanity, Death After Death. Inversion, The Nature of Depravity, Straightforward Brutality, California Death Metal. Another band self-release is Meat Grinder, Misanthropy. Got this directly from the band. More recent is Mephitis, The Ember Dawn. I thought this one sounds amazing. Unique band, trying some old school death metal sounds in their own style. Good job. Morgion, Among a Majestic Ruin. That is a nice gem right there. I think Morgion was a great band. Relapse Records. Another recent album that turned out really good is Mortuous, Through Wilderness. I've taken a stab at several recent death metal albums, and Mortuous was one of the ones that turned out really, really nice. I think Through Wilderness is a good one. Older is Mucous Membrane, The Shallow Existence. This one's on Wild Ray Records. Another old album, There's Your Spine. A recent album that turned out really good production, is Blood Offerings from Necrot. Have a brutal album cover, nice layout. It looks nice and old, sounds nice and old. Another good job from Necrot. I tried their other stuff, not quite as good. Odious Mortem, Devouring the Prophecy. That's some nice straight, again, like Deeds of Flesh, straightforward brutality. Highly recommended album. Devouring the Prophecy from Odious Mortem on Unique Leader. A rarity and a total gem is Prophecy Global Decay. This one's quite difficult to get. It sounds amazing. It's one of the ultra awesome underground albums. Cypheria was the band that formed after the Enthroned band changed. They turned into Cypheria. This is technical death metal. It's called Embrace the Mutation. It's the only one that I have from them. I really like it. Reverted, Decree of the Dead. Some more old school death metal for you. Decree of the Dead. The band Rise, I've got several albums from Rise. Pentagram Nation is right here. Their Divine Eternum. All of them really good albums. Slaves of Illusion was kind of difficult to find, but pretty amazing album from Rise. Underrated California death metal. Shadow of Ruins was also difficult to find. If you can find it, it's an amazing album. And then their EP is called Life into Ever Black. Pretty decent. Love the guitar solos on it. Wild Rags Records. More recent band, Rude Soul Recall. Amazing cover art and love the raspy vocals. These guys are killing it. Sadistic Intent is a classic California death metal band. I've got their comp called Resurrection of the Ancient Black Earth, and it sounds pretty decent. It's got almost all their material on it. Still looks good. What sounds better though is the original edition of Ancient Black Earth. If you can find this one, it's definitely worth it. It actually does sound better than their reissued compilation. This one's on Dark Realm Records. Dark Realm Records put out Resurrection album from Sadistic Intent, and it's the better sounding. Although Gothic Records was the first press, the Dark Realm Records versions of everything pretty much sounds best. Scythe, Undead Infantry. Although I had the original issue, I bought this reissue because the album cover does look really cool. It does sound exactly the same as the original press, and it's just cool layout. Here's what the original edition looks like. Scythe, Undead Infantry. It's on Metal Militia. Sepsism. Severe Carnal Butchery is so brutal I couldn't even show the album cover, but it's just an amazing, credible album. Sepsism. This is a compilation with 3 of their albums, or at least their demos. It's fantastic. Severed Savior, Brutality is Law. So another one that's just straightforward, kind of like Odious Mortem, really easy to listen to. Another one on Unique Leader Records. Up next, a classic album called Silent Scream, From the Darkest Depths of Imagination. It's a death metal classic, really. Old school classic on Tombstone Records. Another recent California band that I really like is Skeletal Remains. I've got at least 2 of their albums. Condemned to Misery, sounds good. Got Devouring Mortality. And again, just like Gruesome, my favorite is the debut album, Beyond the Flesh. I think this is one of the first, true old school, recent bands that really did it right with the old school sound, everything to perfection. The drums, guitars, guitar riffs, the layout, even the spine. You can barely even tell if this is a 1996 or a 2006 or a 2016. Sons of Chaos, Redwork album, and their earlier rare album is called Dawn of the Apocalypse. Probably the better of the 2 albums. Just kind of a rare band, Sons of Chaos from California. Terminus, the reissue comp called Tomb of Infamy. Looks like that. And the original, I think it's an EP called Creations. This one's a death metal gem, Terminus Creations. It's on Stinkfist Records. The band True to Form, New Generation of Aggression, another rarity. The band Unsanctified, Banished from Heaven. Demons of My Own Making. And my favorite from them, again, earliest, is the Empty Veins. Band self-release. Nice early California death metal right there. Another early band is Vile. I have their album called Rare Tracks, 1996 to 2004. It's a 3 out of 5. Their best album, a 5 out of 5 for sure, is Stench of the Deceased. It's a self-released, and it's just smashing, bludgeoning album. It's incredible. Stench of the Deceased from Vile. The band Warface is really unknown. Great band. Not too many people know this band, but if you like guitar playing, sick guitar playing, female guitarists, they did these 2 albums here. Here's the other one called Insanity of the Obsessed. Really good California. Texas death metal. Classic band Absu. They went on to do black metal in later years, but the early stuff, the Temples of Ophel, was really good death metal. Kind of changed their style after a while. I really like Absu, Texas. Nice rare gem that I have is called Condemned. This is a band self-release. It's in my want list for, 5 years maybe. Popped up and I got really lucky on this one, 1997, Condemned, self-release. From Texas, Crucifix, Visions of Nihilism. I would consider this a gem too. Really, really good release. It's got their demos on it. It's Dark Blasphemies Records, compilation of their demos. If you like this album, also get Remains. Remains is just as good. I think they took the remaining material and stuck it on this disc, and it's also very, very good. Classic, awesome band. Should be more known as Crucifixion from Texas. I think they're one of the best Texas bands for sure. This is a reissue. It's got a demo attached to it called Raising the Dead. And their album Paths Less Taken. This one's on Death Fiend Records. That was a lucky score. Found it locally. Crucifixion. It's got some songs in Spanish. And their album called Desert of Shattered Hopes. Looks like this. I think death metal fans should be familiar with Crucifixion for sure. Band called Deep, Pieces of Nothing, and The Reach of Envy. Moderately interesting stuff. Demon Seed, Anatomy of Atrocity. It's a reissue. It says Sick as Fuck, Texas Death on the back. Devourment, Molesting the Decapitated. It's a classic, classic band right there. Discern, Revive, and Rebuke. Kind of a rarity, a death metal gem. It does sound really good. I love how loud and excellent this guy's production was. Did it all himself. Disfigurement, Black Beyond Impurity. Couldn't even tell you about this one. I'll have to give it a spin. Old school classic Texas death metal is Divine Eve as The Angels Weep. That's a sick, great album right there. Divine Rapture, The Burning Passion. A little bit more brutal. Embalmed is a sweet band from Texas. Here's The Pieces Remain and Boiling Humans Comp. That demo, Boiling Humans, is great. I wonder if there's a picture in here. There's got to be a picture of Boiling Humans inside. Really cool band, Embalmed. Kind of more recent to me is Exulcerate, Remnants of Cannibalistic Butchery. That's just kind of some sick, brutal stuff. More recent. Also more recent, Flesh Hoarder, Necrophile. I actually got this in today. I'm like, well, there's another Texas to add. Brand new band called Frozen Soul. For fans of Bolt Thrower and heavier Slug of Thor, sludgier stuff. I think the vocals on here is awesome. I'm really happy to get jewel case editions of this. And their Crypt of Ice. Some slow moving, absolute heaviness, more recent. Good band from Texas. I also really like Images of Violence. This band, and the album is called Degrade the Shapeless. I think this one's a sick and brutal one, was a masterpiece. Imprecation is a classic Texas death metal. Here's one of their more recent albums. A little less recent is this one, Satane. Kind of a rare EP from them. It's called Jehovah Denied, and it's actually quite good. So of Imprecation, this is some of their better material, and their best material is this one here. That's their gem, and particularly this edition on Repulse Records. Imprecation, Texas. Awesome band. I've got Iniquitous, Return to Deed of Old. Looks like this. Again, just pure sick Texas death metal. Really old band, KOD, or Kingdom of Dead. I think that's a really good album. Definitely worth the money. It's not difficult to get, and it's very good. Magus, Ruminations of Debauchery. I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. Recent band that just is awesome. Their demos here from Malignant Altar. Again, I was lucky to grab this because even the recent stuff is hard to find. They pop up with only 50 copies made, and you either have it or you don't. They're full-length Malignant Altar. It's awesome. Yeah, so apparently Texas death metal is still in motion. An old gem from Mortifix, The Reborn Through Hatred. think this has a business card in there. There you go, the original business card from the band. That's a death metal gem right there, Mortifix. Really old band, late 80s, Necrovore. Their Necrography. And I have their album called The Abysmal Plains of Hell. It's a compilation. I don't know why Discogs is banning this stuff now, but just lucky to grab that when I did. Primeval, Temptation. Actually came with this cool, slick, red bottom inlay tray. That's a nice old album, Primeval. This one features a member from Dismember. It's called Rip, Pillage, and Burn. Songs of Death, Songs of Hell. You guys recognize that guy right there? Yeah, bass player, Richard from Dismember. Actually went to Texas for some reason and did this album. Nice and brutal, short album, awesome, it's sarcolytic. This one's killer. I love it. It's on Lacerated Enemy Records. Another rare gem that's just awesome from Texas, Severance, Salvation Denied. I've had this for a long time. That's a total gem right there. Speaking of gems, Century, Disgorging the Dead. This is classic. Old band. This was reissued to CD called Seed of Hatred from Sufferance. It's on Toxic Records. It's a rarity and really good. Another extreme rarity, Symbiote, Welcome to Our World. Kind of sounds like 6 Feet Under, the Haunted album. It's actually quite good. And then finally we have War Master, Pyramid of the Necropolis. Wasn't quite as good as I was hoping, but what can you do? All right, the ABCs of Illinois, starting with Asmodeus, Tyrant of the Land. New band that's just awesome is Bear Mace. Love the vocals on this. Charred Field of Slaughter, and then their earlier Butchering the Colossus. These are both self-releases. Very, very good vocals on this. Rare gem called Bludgeon, Inner Hell. Excellent gem right there. Bludgeon, Inner Hell. Band Body Bag, Hate Crimes. Just what can you expect? It's death metal. It's all about death. Broken Hope. I have the Omen and Disease. I love the DVD and the story of this one here. Grotesque Blessings. Loathing album. Love Repulsive Conception. Love the song Pitbull Grin. Classic lineup here. Death metal classic from USA is Balls of Repugnance. There's Swamped in Gore and Grindcore Records. It's an Illinois classic. There's a reissue with an album cover that might be familiar. It's a really well done reissue. Got some great art on it. More recent band called Cardiac Arrest. I've been kind of hitting up all the Cardiac Arrest albums recently because they just do death metal so well. You know, just great riffs, great production. I think some of my favorites is the earlier, probably my favorite album so far from them is this Heart-Stopping Death Rot. I would consider this one a gem. Classic band Cyanide, A Descent into Hell on Red Light. That's an excellent, slow-paced, heavy Illinois death metal. Another demo, Rage War from 1996. Reissued a CD, looks like this. It's not a rarity. I've got number 93 of 250. It sounds very good. My favorite from them is The Dying Truth on Grindcore Records. I would consider this a US classic album right here. Highly recommended is Contagion and their reissue Comp. I think this one is just amazing. Contagion, definitely check that one out. Old Illinois band called Corpse Vomit, raping the ears of those above. I also have their Bastards of Forever Filth. Wild Rags. Always made such cool releases, Wild Rags. Awesome Rare Gems, Dark Oasis, Lurking in the Darkness. It's 1997 self-release, and that's an awesome Rare Gem. Classic Chicago band, Death Strike, and Your Fucking Death. This band later became the band Master, and this is the first pressing on Nuclear Blast Records. Chicago classic is Demented Ted. Seen him live in concert several times. Your Promise is Impure on Pavement Records. The band Dissenter. It's also excellent and underrated band from Chicago. Here's a comp from them. Highly recommended is As We Burn album. This one just shreds. Dissenter, As We Burn. I also have from them Demonic Portraiture, Welcome to Oblivion, and their amazing self-release called Desecrated. This one's also highly recommended, Desecrated album. I want to show you underneath here. It's one of the best death metal band photos of all time. It's looking up from the grave to see the band. Just absolutely incredible. You know, another reason to get the self-release of Dissenter. Evil Incarnate, Blackest Hymns of God's Disgrace. Kind of sounds like Imprecation, Texas. It's kind of searing sort of stuff, you know, a bit of deicide thrown in there, I suppose. Blood of the Saints album. Classic Illinois band from Chicago is Fleshgrind. Live in Germany album is pretty good. Seeds of Abysmal Torment is very, very good. And they're Destined to Defilement. Yeah, Destined for Defilement. This is really good Fleshgrind. Probably their best material besides their classic demo. Here's the reissued demos that came out recently. And this one here, Holy Pedophile. That's one of the most classic death metal albums that I know of from my local area. Fleshhole Pathetic. I give it a 3 out of 5. 5 out of 5 is Funereal. Right here, this album, Funereal. It's also on Cryonic Records, up at number 10 of 250, and that's an awesome album. Rarity is Illbred Unearthly Sufferance. This one was really tough to get. I do have the original demo. I've had this band's demo since the early 90s, and they reissued the stuff onto CD. And for some reason they didn't make very many copies, and the band gave out them to their friends. So it's tough to get now, but it's a very, very good band. Illbred, absolutely. Incestuous. A couple more recent is Leproso. And this is a Spanish-speaking Entre Las Nubes from Leproso. What's it called? Leproso. Lividity, Fetish for the Sick. So brutal. I censored the album cover here. I'll show you the inside of it. Yeah, Lividity. Absolutely. On Ablated Records. Ultra classic Illinois band is Macabre. Grim Reality is just amazing. I mean, all this early material from Macabre is amazing. Their Gloom album, which was on their label, does sound better than the original UK edition. This is on Decomposed Records. So Macabre Gloom is a classic album, and you should get the version that's on Decomposed Records for sure. It's a better sounding. Also on Decomposed Records is Dahmer. It's all about, every song I think is about Jeffrey Dahmer. Their earlier album called Unabomber, just kind of highlighting serial killers. That's what Macabre does, and that's what they're good at. This is autographed by 2 of the members. This is an old classic album right here, Nuclear Blast America, and their Sinister Slaughter album. their EP called Behind the Wall of Sleep. And I also have the UK edition, the first pressing of their Gloom album. All really good stuff. Maimed Demo 1991. This has been reissued to CD on Dark Descent Records, and it's very, very good. Classic band Master. This is my favorite material from Master, the unreleased 1985 album. It's been issued in lots of different titles, so you can get it in almost several different titles, but you can't go wrong with this material right here from Master. Morgue Eroded Thoughts. This is the edition with their bonus demo, and the original edition is like this. It's on grindcore. Morgue Eroded Thoughts. Love this classic band photo. November's Doom. Kind of some slower, heavier, amazing stuff. I also have this album from them. Amid its hallowed mirth. That one's awesome. Numbskull, When Suffering Comes. They kind of come from a death thrash background, and this one's definitely a death metal sounding album from Numbskull. I'd consider that a gem. Classic Chicago area band is Oppressor. Elements of Corrosion sounds really good. Agony sounds really good. Most people know the Solstice of Oppression album. It's just a technical death metal masterpiece. And there's a few editions of that on CD and cassette. I also have their Europe Oppression Live album. Pretty decent. I love the album cover. The band Relic, R-E-L-L-I-K, from Illinois. Got a few of their albums. Blessed by the Gods with Fire. It's a rarity. And this other rarity is called Born of Wind and War. Definitely, good listening. If you can find it, grab it for sure. The Chasm. I've got Reaching the Veil of Death album. Death Call for Eternity. From the Lost Years. Then we have a band called Terminal Death. This is kind of a proto-death metal. Really old music and reissued to CD. Look at all these demos. Another little gem is called Usurper, Threshold of the Usurper. That's great. They might have gone into black metal a little bit with their stuff, but this one is a good death metal. It's Threshold of the Usurper. And then finally a nice rarity called Waking Chaos. This one is just incredible. Just sounds really, really nice. Rare thing, Waking Chaos. New York death metal. Classic stuff right here. Baphomet, The Dead Shall Inherit. On Peaceful Records. I got their earlier release called Death in the Beginning. And then that band, Baphomet, turned into Banished. Here's their Deliver Me Unto Pain album. Like this. And then some grindcore sort of stuff. Brutal Truth, Extreme Conditions. Perpetual Conversion. Compilation from Buried Beneath, The Last Rays of the Moon. Cerebral Hemorrhage, Exempting Reality. This one's nice. Nice and brutal. Ceremonium. Yeah, a lot of people have that earlier album, but this one's really good too. Basically two albums from Ceremonium that are really good. This one, and then Into the Autumn Shade. Like this. That's just real nice, heavy, slow, well-made New York death metal. A band called Death Kids. They're Born in Hell. I saw these guys live, and when they were this age too. It was basically two members, only aged like 15 and 13, and their dad played bass. Took them on tour, and they did a really good job. Death Rune Comp. Those Who Choose the Fallen and Dark Blasphemies. That's really good. Another good New York is the band Dehumanized. I've got their albums Beyond the Mind. I've got Controlled Elite. And my favorite from them is Prophecies Foretold. That's some nice driving music. Rare gem called Demonic Sacrifice. Enter the realm of pure darkness. Looks like this. It's a band self-release. It's a rare gem. The band Torturement, Descendant to Deprivation. Another brutal. I've got two versions actually. One has their compilation, which I just showed you, and then their other album looks like this on CD. Band Everdark, Not of God album. Become an underrated band. And their album Armageddon's Birth. Rare gem called Exuviate. Definitely good. New York death metal. Grotesque Euphoria. And my Immolation collection. Providence EP, their masterpiece, Close to a World Below, their amazing album called Failures for Gods, and their death metal classic, Here and After. Stepping on Angels Before Dawn. Sounds really, really good. Their demo comp CD, for some reason, didn't sound very good, but this is also the same thing. It's their demos, and it sounds amazing. I don't know why there's such a difference there. Debut album, Dawn of Possession. It's a death metal classic. Immortal Suffering. Just a killer band, and really these the compilation of their demos is just really, really good. Immortal Suffering. Here's the Insanity and Immortal Suffering split. That is what I consider a gem right there. My Internal Bleeding collection, Alien Breed, Driven to Conquer. I love the album The Extinction of Benevolence. My favorite album from him is Voracious Contempt. It's much more slammy than Suffocation ever was. These guys were the inventors of slam death metal. Invocation of Evil. Perpetual Degradation on Wild Rags Records. Malicious Onslaught, Brutal Gore, and the Rebellious Mayhem. Classic New York brutal death metal, Malignancy, EP Motivated by Hunger. That's just awesome. Debut album, Interuterine Cannibalism. And their demo comp called Ignorance is Bliss. It's a really nice comp. Morpheus Descends, The Horror of the Truth, EP Chronicles of the Shadowed Ones, a couple different versions of that, and their sick debut album called Ritual of Infinity. This is a nice Morpheus Descends album. It's on JL America. I've got an unusual comp called Yonkers Death. Features Mortician, Malignancy, Deathrune, and Alive. It's actually Alive from 1991. My Mortician collection, Darkest Day of Horror, Chainsaw Dismemberment. My favorite from them is Zombie Apocalypse. Their killer slim line called Mortal Massacre. And the ultra brutal and classic death metal, Hacked Up for Barbecue. I've got a demo from The Casket from them. Highly underrated band. It's called Mutant Supremacy. Infinite Suffering. This one's really nice. Yeah, Mutant Supremacy is really underrated. Rare band called Myself Am Hell. Had 2 CDs from these guys, and this is the better one. Pyrexia, Here's their Cruelty Beyond Submission. And I've got their CD called System of the Animal. It's really good. Absolutely amazing is their EP, Hatred, Anger, and Disgust. This is a total gem right here. I've got their Pathos Productions edition of Sermon of Mockery. It's got their demo as a bonus, so it's really nice to keep that one. And the first pressing of this was the edition here, Sermon of Mockery. It's on Drown Productions. Repudiation. This is a nice, classic, brutal death metal from New York. Repudiation. Rare thing called Shadow Demise, their Premature Burial album. It's a band self-release. Another self-release is Shrine of Scars, Deathbed for a Weakened Spirit. Classic Brutality from New York, Skinless, Regression Towards Evil. Sorrow, their Hatred and Disgust, and also their Forgotten Sunrise EP. I like this one. I like that classic band photo too. All right, moving into my Suffocation collection, close of a chapter, live in Quebec. I've got an issue that looks like this here. This one's Quebec City, live 2005. It's a bit of a rarity. Their amazing Pierced From Within album. Souls to Deny. And I've got a rarity called Surgery of Impalement. It's a 3-song sampler, actually, called Surgery of Impalement from Suffocation. Despise the Sun. Breeding the Spawn. Debut album Effigy to Forgotten. Debut EP Human Waste. New York death metal Taste of Fear. Recent band called Undeath. It's Time to Rise. This one's great. Undeath. And then finally from New York City, the band Winter. Their EP and their classic Nuclear Blast album called Into Darkness. New Jersey had an amazing scene. Demonacy, Morbidity Within. That's a compilation of the band Demonacy, and it's really good. Very, very good stuff. Deteriorat, Echoes from the Past. I would consider this a gem. It's actually a compilation. Love that album art right there. Love the front cover too. And their album is called In Ancient Beliefs. Brutal Gem, Digested Flesh, The Answer to Infection. That is just produced so amazing. Just sounds so good. Disma, Towards the Megalith. One of the most incredible albums for sure. Evoken, Embrace the Emptiness. Even slower is Shade of Night Descending. Funebrarum. Yeah, nice slow bands from New Jersey. Beneath the Columns of Abandoned Gods. Gut Chugger. The band Human Remains. That's a comp. Not too great, not near as good as this one here. Using Sickness as a Hero. That one's definitely recommended. My Incantation collection. I like that album Blasphemy. Infernal Storm. Diabolical Conquest. My favorite EPs of all time is The Forsaken Morning of Angelic Anguish. That one's on Repulse, and I've also got the version here on Relapse. No sound difference, they just look a little bit different from each other. A real gem from Incantation is Tribute to the Goat. It's a rarity, and it just sounds really, really nice. Probably some goat's blood smeared in there. This is number 657 of 666. Upon the Throne of Apocalypse is another one that's incredible. Mortal Throne of Nazarene. Onward to Golgotha. Basically, I mean, all of these, and you can't go wrong with Incantation. Blasphemous Creation. The Mass Psychosis, the album Face. Mortal Decay. This is the reissue, The Gathering of Human Artifacts. So it's remastered and sounds very, very good from Comatose Music. Their album, full length, Forensic. It's a brutal gem. Sickening Erotic Fanaticism. That's good too. Someone's got to make sure there's no explicit pictures. The Gathering of Human Artifacts. This is the original edition that came out, and it's just an awesome band, Mortal Decay. Necrosis Comp. It's a New Jersey band that was, put out a compilation eventually. That sounds good. Nocturnal. I think a lot of people know the earlier stuff, but Fury Unleashed is also really good from Nocturnal. Nothing But Hatred. Nice quirky stuff. That's really good. Jail America. Revenant. Prophecies of Dying World. It's on Nuclear Blast. I've got their comp called The Burning Ground. It's got a couple bonus tracks on it that are pretty good. Ripping Corpse, Dreaming with the Dead. It's a classic. I just love that picture right there. Rare band called Supremia. Autumn's Moon album. And the earlier album called With Winter Comes Despair. Symphony of Grief. Little brutal gem called The Gertrude Tree. One of the best band names of all time, Torture Crypt, The Rotted Remnants, another Wild Dregs. Vicious Circle, Cryptic Void. That's on Jail America. That's a gem right there. Also really good is Warhead, Raping of Angels. That's a CD you don't see very often. Bands from Pennsylvania, Beyond Fatal, Sanctuary and Misery. Highly recommended Blood Vomit, Up from the Grave. That's a fun little listen. Pretty consistent all the way through, and last time I spun it I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite gems in my collection is called Carnivian and Totus Bonden. Yeah, the vocals on this are just awesome. I love the lyrics from Carnivian. Nice rare gem right there. Dercada is amazing, full length. In Death We Meet. It's classic musicians from the US. They're from Pennsylvania, and that album is just sick. Goddess of Death compilation from them is also really good. It's the actual old demos. And you cannot beat Premature Burial. And the songs on here, just amazing. Deteriorate, Rotting in Hell. It has some demos on it. And the first issue is called Rotting in Hell on Jail America. It's a sweet classic. Rarity, Divination, The Three Nails of Fate. And the real gem is Obsessed from Divination. That is a nice self-release 1998 rare gem. One that you've probably never seen before is Funeral Mask. Catapulting Corpses. I don't think anybody's ever seen this before. But it's very, very good. Another self-release, Funerus, Festering Earth. Nice, slow, wicked stuff. The self-release. I say self-release because it's Ibex Moon Records, and by the way, this cast here, husband and wife, this is John McEntee of Incantation and his wife Jill McEntee, and they own this label called Ibex Moon Records. Gorephobia, Vile Beast of Abomination. That's another comp. It's got all their old material on it. Recent reissue of an older band too is Genna, and this one is amazing. Genna, The Horror Begins at the Valley of Gore. I was pleasantly surprised to get this, I think, in the mail this year. 21 Awakening Records. Another reissue, Haunted. Sinister Spawnings. Insanity, Divine Decomposition. This is the first edition on Digipack, on Unisound Records. And then I have the jewel case edition because I have to have a jewel case whenever possible. 1996 Unisound. Equally good cover art. And another issue. 3 issues of the same album. Yep, I'm a collector. Migos, Open Season. This is a death metal gem. I love it. Just amazing, you know, real powerful sound. The Mythic Anthology. People have probably 4 or 5 different versions of this. I've got the one that's band self-release. It's got the print on it like this. So, yeah, that was directly from her and self-release. Band Nunslaughter, kind of a well-known band, I think. Debut album, Hell's Unholy Fire. Nice rarity from Putrefactor. I love that the band is like John, Bill, Bob, and they just rip classic American stuff. Rotravor, Disembodied comp. It's got their demos on it, and it does sound really good. Their debut album is Iniquitous. So yeah, did Pennsylvania have some good bands? Yes, they did. Sadist Euphoria. And a nice little gem from Sadist Euphoria. And then finally, Satanas, the Black Earth CD. All from Pennsylvania. Good quality stuff. All right, bands from Ohio. First up, the reissue of Blessed Sickness, Massacre the Holy. This was cassette tape originally, and the reissue looks very, very good. Nice rare gem carved in flesh, as seen through tears. Beautiful gem. A rarity called Cemetery, Graveyard Grind. Not many people have seen that one either. Band called Ceremony, The Days Before the Death. So that's Pat O'Brien, Steve Tucker, and some other guys that met in Ohio before they went on to do other projects. Awesome classic band, Decrepit, their Acrimonium EP. This was amazing. And the Creation of Sin. Look at these classic American guys. Tom, Chris, Rob. Descend, Requiem of Flame. Good album. Old school gem. Descendant, Degeneration. Not many people have that one. It's a 1995 self-release. Deviancy, Storms of Darkness. Awesome Ohio band, Embalmer. There Was Blood Everywhere. That's a sick album on Relapse Records. Sounds amazing. Underrated Estuary. I don't think people have even heard this very much at all. This album is on Ibex Moon Records. Their earlier stuff is Riding the Tides of Malice. Also from Ohio is Gutted. And their classic album, Bleed for Us to Live. Hemdale compilation called Red Jackson. It's got all their material on it pretty much. Tons and tons of songs from Hemdale. Just some awesome gore grind. Their In the Name of Gore album is really the one to get because it sounds a little bit better than the comp. This one is a total gem right here. Internecine, The Book of Lambs. This one rips just as much as Once Upon the Cross. Kindred Idol, Conscious in the Mudvayne. Carnugia EP, The Condemned to Obscurity. I thought this one sounded really good. Didn't care for their other release, but this one sounded nice. Leveled, Disintegration of Humanity. I consider that a gem. Lucifixion, As Evil as Me. Another nice rare gem, their self-release, Indulgence into the Macabre. Yeah, Sick Ohio Death Metal. Necrophagia was from Ohio. And I've got their Black Blood Vomitorium album, their Holocausto de la Muerte, Death is Fun EP. It's on Red Stream. And their comp with the early material, Legacy of Horror, Gore, and Sickness. And their classic, amazing debut, Season of the Dead. It's on New Renaissance. Odious Sanction, Psychologically Enraged. Regurgitation, Tales of Necrophilia. Some brutal Ohio death metal right there. Sodomized Gut Bucket. Super brutal. Old school death metal classic. Bones of the Carrion, The Gardens of Dead Winter. It's Wild Rags Records. Kind of a newer release. Sounds really, really good. It's Threnody, Rid of Flesh. And a brand new band, 200 Stab Wounds, Slave to the Scalpel. And my favorite really is their earlier Piles of Festering Decomposition from 200 Stab Wounds. All from Ohio. Thanks for watching.